They say never go into business with friends. I should have listened. My name is Kendra, and 7 years ago, I built a tech company from absolutely nothing. No investors. No safety net. Just me, my savings, and a software platform I'd coded in my apartment over 18 months of sleepless nights. The company was called Apex Solutions. We built customer relationship management software for small businesses, streamlined, affordable, intuitive, something the little guys could actually use without needing a PhD in computer science. Within 3 years, we hit $8 million in revenue. And I did it with my best friend, Tobias. Tobias wasn't a coder. He wasn't a product guy. But he was charismatic, persuasive, and brilliant at sales. He could walk into a room and make people believe in things they didn't even know they needed. I brought the vision. He brought the hustle. We split the company 50-50. Equal partners. Equal owners. I was CEO. He was COO. It was perfect. Until the day he walked into my office with 2 lawyers, a notarized board resolution, and a termination letter removing me from the company I'd created. He didn't just fire me. He erased me. He told investors I was mentally unstable. He told clients I'd been embezzling funds. He told our employees I'd abandoned the company. He rewrote history and made himself the hero. And because of one clause buried deep in our operating agreement, a clause I'd signed without reading carefully enough, he had the legal authority to do it. Within 48 hours, I lost my company, my income, my reputation, and my best friend. Tobias thought he'd won. He thought I'd disappear, quietly, broken and humiliated. He didn't know that buried in that same operating agreement was a different clause. A termination clause with a very specific trigger that he'd overlooked. A trigger I was about to pull. Because 18 months later, I didn't just take my company back. I took everything he'd ever built, everything he'd ever stolen, and I burned it to the ground using his own contract as kindling. This is how I did it. Let me go back to the beginning. Tobias and I met in college. University of Texas, sophomore year. He was studying business. I was in computer science. We became inseparable, study partners, drinking buddies, the kind of friends who finished each other's sentences. After graduation, Tobias went into sales at a corporate software firm. I took a job as a junior developer at a startup that imploded 6 months later. We stayed close. We'd meet for drinks every Friday and complain about our jobs, our bosses, our futures. One night, about 8 years ago, I told him about an idea I'd been working on. I'm building a CRM platform for small businesses. Something simple. Something they can actually afford. All the enterprise solutions are bloated and expensive. There's a huge gap in the market. Tobias leaned forward, eyes bright. That's genius. How far along are you? I've got a working prototype, but I need help with sales, marketing, customer acquisition. I'm a terrible salesperson. He grinned. I'm an incredible salesperson. Let's do this together. We shook hands right there in the bar. 3 months later, we officially launched Apex Solutions. I put in $60,000, my entire savings. Tobias put in $20,000. We agreed to split ownership 50-50 anyway because his sales expertise was worth the difference. I coded. He sold. It worked. Our first year, we made $200,000 in revenue. Year 2, we hit $2 million. Year 3, $8 million. We hired employees, rented office space, started getting attention from venture capitalists. I loved it. I loved building something real, something valuable. I loved working alongside my best friend. Tobias seemed to love it too. But looking back now, I can see the cracks forming. He started making decisions without consulting me, hiring people I didn't approve, changing pricing structures without discussion. When I pushed back, he'd smile and say, "Kendra, you're the tech genius. Let me handle the business side. That's what I'm here for." I trusted him. That was my first mistake. The betrayal happened on a Thursday morning in March. I'd been traveling for 2 weeks, meeting with potential enterprise clients on the West Coast. Big accounts. Game-changing deals. I came back to the office, exhausted but energized. We were about to close a contract with a retail chain that would triple our revenue. I walked into the building and immediately felt something was wrong. Employees wouldn't make eye contact. My assistant looked like she'd been crying. I went straight to Tobias's office. He was sitting behind his desk with two men in suits I didn't recognize. "Kendra," Tobias said calmly. "We need to talk." I sat down, confused. "Who are they?" "Corporate attorneys. We have a situation." My stomach dropped. "What situation?" One of the lawyers slid a document across the desk. "Ms. Pacheco, this is a board resolution terminating your position as CEO of Apex Solutions, effective immediately." I stared at the paper like it was written in a foreign language. "What are you talking about? I founded this company. I own half of it." Tobias folded his hands. "You own equity, yes. But according to our operating agreement, the board has the authority to remove officers, including the CEO, with majority vote. We don't have a board. It's just the two of us." "Not anymore. 6 months ago, we brought in advisors as non-voting board observers. Last month, I formalized them as voting board members. They unanimously agreed that your leadership has become a liability." My heart was pounding. A liability? Tobias, what the hell is this? He looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Cold, detached, almost pitying. "Kendra, you're brilliant, but you're not a CEO. You don't understand finance, operations, scaling. We've grown beyond your skill set. The board believes, and I agree, that Apex needs professional leadership to reach the next level." "Professional leadership? I built this company from nothing." "You built the product. I built the business. And now the business needs someone who can take it to 100 million and beyond. That person isn't you." I stood up, shaking. "This is insane. You can't just fire me from my own company." The second lawyer spoke. "Actually, Ms. Pacheco, he can. You signed the operating agreement. It clearly states that officers serve at the pleasure of the board. The board has voted. The decision is final." I looked at Tobias. "You planned this. You brought in fake board members just so you could vote me out." He didn't deny it. "I did what was best for the company." "This isn't about the company. This is about you wanting total control." He shrugged. "Believe what you want. You're terminated. Security will escort you out. You'll retain your equity shares, but you're prohibited from interfering with company operations. If you violate that, we'll pursue legal action." I couldn't breathe. "Tobias, we built this together. We're friends." For just a moment, I thought I saw something flicker in his eyes. Regret, maybe. Guilt. Then it was gone. We were friends. But business is business. You'll understand someday. Security arrived. 2 guards I didn't recognize. They escorted me out of the building in front of every employee I'd hired. I didn't cry. Not then. I just walked out, numb, and sat in my car for an hour staring at nothing. The next few weeks were a nightmare. I hired a lawyer. He reviewed the operating agreement and confirmed the worst. Tobias had structured everything legally. The board vote was valid. My termination was enforceable. "You still own your equity," my lawyer said. "If the company succeeds, you'll benefit financially, but you have no operational control." So I just sit here and watch him run my company. "Unless you want to sue, yes. And I'll be honest, Kendra, litigation would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars with no guarantee of success." I didn't have hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it got worse. Tobias started spreading rumors. I heard from former employees that he was telling people I'd had a breakdown, that I'd been making erratic decisions, that I'd been caught misappropriating company funds, and the board had to remove me for fiduciary reasons. None of it was true, but mud sticks. Investors who'd been interested in funding Apex suddenly stopped returning my calls. Clients I'd personally signed started asking questions. My reputation was being destroyed. And Tobias? He was thriving. He rebranded himself as the sole founder, gave interviews to tech blogs about his vision for Apex, raised a $12 million Series A round. He erased me from the story entirely. I fell into a dark place. I stopped going out, stopped answering calls. I sat in my apartment and watched the company I'd built become someone else's success story. "Jenna," my younger sister, came to check on me one night. Kendra, you can't let him win. You're smarter than this. Fight back. How? He has lawyers. He has money. He has everything. She grabbed my shoulders. You have the truth. And you have something he doesn't. What? You actually know how to read contracts. That night, I did something I should have done months earlier. I read the operating agreement. Every single word. Every clause. Every subsection. And that's when I found it. Buried in section 12.4 under termination and dissolution. In the event that the company experiences a material adverse change in financial performance, defined as a decline in gross revenue of more than 30%, over any consecutive 6-month period, any equity holder may trigger a mandatory buyout provision requiring the company to purchase their shares at fair market value as determined by independent appraisal, or may elect to force dissolution of the company and distribution of assets. I read it 3 times. Then I called my lawyer. Did you see section 12.4? The buyout provision? Yes, but it's not triggered. Apex is growing. What if it wasn't? Silence. Then, what are you thinking? What if I could tank Apex's revenue by 30%? What if I could make that happen within 6 months? Kendra, that's sabotage. That's illegal. Not if I do it by taking back what's mine. Here's what Tobias didn't know. Every major client Apex had, every single enterprise account worth over $50,000 annually had signed contracts because of me. I'd built the relationships. I'd customized the software. I'd personally onboard them. They trusted me. Not Apex. Not Tobias. Me. So I started making phone calls. I reached out to our top 20 clients. I didn't badmouth Tobias. I didn't trash talk Apex. I just told them the truth. Hi, this is Kendra Pacheco. I'm no longer with Apex Solutions. I wanted to personally let you know that I'm launching a new venture, and I'd love to continue supporting your CRM needs with the same level of service you've come to expect. 15 of them switched to me within 3 months. I hadn't even launched my new company yet. I was just collecting commitments. Apex's revenue started dropping. Tobias noticed. He called me furious. What the hell are you doing? Running my own business, just like you. You're stealing my clients. They were never your clients, Tobias. They were mine. You just happened to be cashing the checks. If you keep this up, I'll sue you for tortious interference. Go ahead. I signed an operating agreement, not a non-compete. I can contact anyone I want. And unlike you, I didn't lie to get them to leave. I just reminded them who actually built the product they're using. He hung up, but the damage was done. By month 5, Apex's revenue had dropped 34%. I triggered the buyout provision. Tobias tried to fight it. His lawyers argued the provision was unenforceable, that I'd acted in bad faith, that I'd deliberately sabotaged the company. My lawyer was ready. Your client removed Ms. Pacheco from operational control. She's legally prohibited from interfering with Apex's business. She started her own separate venture and legally contacted clients she had personal relationships with. That's not sabotage. That's competition. And the operating agreement your client drafted explicitly allows any equity holder to trigger a buyout under these exact conditions. The judge agreed. Tobias was ordered to either buy out my 50% stake at fair market value, appraised at $19 million, or dissolve the company and split the assets. He didn't have $19 million. He'd spent the series of funding on expansion, salaries, office space. He tried to raise emergency capital, but investors don't fund companies in free fall. He had no choice. Apex Solutions dissolved. Assets were liquidated. Clients were notified. Employees were laid off. Tobias got half. I got half. My half came to about $8 million after legal fees and debts. His half was the same. But here's the difference. I already had 15 major clients committed to my new company. He had nothing but a failed venture and a reputation for forcing out his co-founder. 6 months later, I launched Pinnacle CRM. Same core technology, better interface, better pricing. I personally reached out to every former Apex employee who'd been laid off and offered them jobs. Most of them accepted. They knew who'd really built the product. They knew who'd actually cared. Within a year, Pinnacle hit $12 million in revenue. Within 2 years, we were at $30 million. I raised a Series A round, $25 million, from investors who'd blacklisted Tobias after learning what he'd done. Tobias tried to launch his own company. It failed within 8 months. He tried to get hired at other tech firms, but word had spread. People knew he'd betrayed his co-founder. Nobody wanted to work with someone that ruthless. Last I heard, he was doing sales consulting in Dallas, making a fraction of what he used to. I saw him once, about 3 years after everything fell apart. It was at a tech conference. I was a keynote speaker. He was in the audience. Our eyes met across the room. He looked older, tired, smaller somehow. After my talk, he approached me. "Kendra, that was a great presentation." "Thanks." Silence. Then, "I'm sorry for what I did. I was greedy. I thought I could do it without you. I was wrong." I looked at him for a long moment. "You weren't wrong about being greedy, Tobias. You were wrong about thinking I'd stay down." He nodded slowly. "You always were smarter than me." "No, I just read the contract." I walked away. People ask me if I regret what I did, if I feel bad about destroying Apex, about costing people their jobs, about bankrupting someone who used to be my best friend. I tell them the truth. I don't regret protecting myself. I don't regret using the exact same contract Tobias used to betray me. He wrote the rules. I just played the game better. Tobias thought he could erase me from my own story. He thought loyalty and friendship meant nothing compared to profit and control. He learned the hard way that when you build your empire on someone else's back, you'd better make sure they stay down. Because if they get up, they'll use every tool you gave them to take it all back. Today, Pinnacle CRM is worth over $200 million. I have 140 employees. We operate in 12 countries, and every single contract we sign includes a clause protecting founders from hostile takeovers. I named it the Tobias Clause. My team thinks it's a joke. I know it's a reminder, because here's what I learned. Betrayal doesn't destroy you. It reveals who you really are. And when someone tries to bury you, they better make sure you don't have a copy of the contract. Some people build empires on lies. Others build them on receipts. I chose receipts, and I've never lost a battle since. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, remember this. The same tools they use to destroy you can be turned around. Read every contract. Document everything. And when the moment comes, don't get mad. Get your company back. And leave them with nothing but the memory of what they lost.